recently reread William Shirer's The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. I first read it when I was a teenager, and there are a few things that really spoke to me about it. One of them is that Shirer makes very clear that the Nazis really were bad. And we all know that the Nazis were bad, but it has become fashionable of late to call anybody you disagree with a Nazi. And the Nazis had plans that if they invaded Britain, they were going to deport every male between the ages of 15 and 45 for slave labor in Germany. And they had intentional policies of eradicating entire regions, really. And of course, there are policies against the Jews and against the Russian POWs. It was all really, really bad. And so I guess there's a little bit of a plea here that we would stop calling everybody who disagrees with you on any minor issue of the day or even major issue of the day a Nazi, because Nazi actually means something and it means something pretty bad. And the second point is that one of the things that I think has influenced my work really profoundly from having read Shirer when I was a teenager is that he is continually appalled, and rightfully appalled, at how so many of the Germans went along with this awful behavior. Everybody from the members of the military to members of police forces um, to common citizens. Even as late as 1944, Hitler was still incredibly popular among the German people. And even with all they had inflicted and even with all they had suffered, he was still popular. And Shirer keeps asking, how could so many people have just blinded themselves so much and not cared about the atrocities that were being committed in their name, pretty much in front of their faces? And it is a question that has driven much of my work, and in one way or another, with all sorts of different atrocities. But even when I was a teenager, I was also recognizing that I could be sitting there reading this as I am reading newspaper accounts about having to apply, not having to, but applying poisons to entire prairie dog villages. And the thing that I find, even as a teenager, I found interesting, and I find interesting to this day, is if you really, and this is the center of my book, The Culture of Make Believe, if you perceive others as not worthy of life, if you collectively perceive that, it is easy to then ignore uh, the wiping out of entire communities of them. And so Shirer was rightly outraged that the German people did not see what was going on around them and did not resist what was going on around them. And at the same time, we're embedded in a larger culture that still perceives the rest of the world as, quote, subhuman. Just that language itself. They are less than human. And we know what it's like to be embedded in a culture like this because we are embedded in a culture like this.